Hi guys, good evening. If you can hear me, you can just type on your screens that I am audible, and then I will continue with today's session on intellectual property rights. Somebody can just type that I am audible. Then I'll start with the session at 6 o'clock. We've just hit 6 o'clock. Alright, I'll start with the session. Good morning, good evening to all of you. I am Advocate Ankit Rastogi. I have been practicing intellectual property rights for the past 8 years, since 2011, at the Supreme Court, the Delhi High Court, intellectual property offices across country, IPAB and district courts at Delhi. I have also founded an IP and technology law blog called Indian Case Law, along with one of my partner, Mr. Vivek Verma. Currently, I am working at an IP boutique firm in Delhi by the name of Sagar Chandra and Associates. And Indian Case Laws, we intend to demystify IP concepts through case summaries, articles, and a new venture called Flipstan, where we discuss IP concepts juxtaposed with films. I thank the virtual lawyer to invite me for a session today. I hope that this session adds to your knowledge on various intellectual property rights, and the same is also fun. The multilateral treaty on TRIPS, the TRIPS multilateral treaty covers 7 types of intellectual properties: trademarks, copyrights, patents, designs, trade secrets, geographical indications, and layout designs of integrated circuits. In this webinar or this live session, howsoever you may call it, we will try to cover some important aspects of these rights or informations about the same through the medium of cinema or shows. Then I will open the floor for question. I will try to keep as brief as possible. I will not unnecessarily extend the session to bore you guys. With the first concept which we will cover would be trademarks. Trademarks can be a word, a logo, any other sensory symbol used by a manufacturer or a seller to distinguish its product or services from others. It may consist of virtually any form of sign. The main purpose and economic significance of trademark is to designate the source of goods or services. In effect, the trademark is a commercial substitute for one signature. This is a basic premise of the trademark law. The first topic we'll cover under trademark law, it will be the functions and rationality of trademarks. What is a trademark? What is the purpose? What is in fact a mark? This concept we'll elucidate from the 2014 film PK. So you guys know that in the film PK, the alien comes to planet Earth and tries to find out which god he should worship, what is his religion. PK is not able to find it out because he's an alien. So he goes to a hospital, picks up a baby and tries to ask everybody around him ki thappa kahan hai, where is the mark? Unless and until he finds the mark, he is unable to find the company the baby belongs to. The company in this case is a religion. So the primary function, the earlier recognized function of a trademark, is to identify the source or origin of the goods. However, this concept prevailed till late 19th century in trademark jurisprudence or earlier 20th century, and it is considered as an orthodox function of trademark protection to identify source and origin of goods. The new concept of trademark function is, even if the consumer doesn't know the source and origin of a product, still if the trademark functions to attract a consumer, it's a trademark. For example, the brand Sunsilk. We don't know who the owner of the brand is. Glucon-D, we don't know the owner of the brand. But we do know that it comes from a particular source. It has a particular quality. That source may be anonymous, and it will give us a consumer satisfaction. Irrespective of we know the identity of the owner of that trademark or not. This is the currently recognized identification function of a trademark, which is also available in the definition of trademarks under the Trademarks Act, whether with or without identity of that person who owns that trademark. If the trademark performs a source identifying feature and gives a consumer satisfaction, it's a trademark. Now we see in the film that PK doesn't find the trademark. He always keeps asking thappa kahan hai, par he never gets to know that where the company belongs. So he literally practices all gods, all religions are practiced by him. This concept elucidates the second function of a trademark. If we don't know the trademarks and all the products look alike, then we will spend our time, energy to buy a particular product, which is considered as secondary function of a trademark: saving of time, saving of money, and saving of energy. Subsequently, we see that PK approaches the monk and asks him that, please tell us, how do you identify people? And the monk picks up the dresses of various religions. He looks at them and tells he's a Hindu, he's a Muslim because of the dress. Trademark is actually this exact dress. It's the perception of ear and eye. A product is clothed with a dress, and then you understand that product and you recognize it. You recognize that Harpic is blue. You recognize that Domix is probably red. You recognize that Cadbury chocolates are of a particular color. The rationality of a trademark protection is that the owner of the trademark wants you to distinguish trademarks, but an infringer of a trademark does not want to distinguish the trademarks. As PK rightly says in the movie, if God would have wanted to create a difference, he would have put a label upon us. And so does the trademark owner. He wants to create a difference because he has invested capital. He has invested time in creating a brand. Because he has invested time and money in creating a brand, he wants to create that difference. If there would be no mark, let us just say there are no marks available, there will be no difference in choosing between an inferior product and a satisfactory product. In fact, without trademark protection, there will be no trader will invest in quality of the products and branding. Consumers will end up getting cheap products because there will be no incentive for the businessman. To summarize the rationality and functions of trademarks, a function of a trademark is to create a stimulation of purchase in the mind of the consumer with an aim to derive a satisfaction from a product which is assumed to have a single source. Why do we crave for Albaik's shawarma rolls? Why do we crave for Khan Chacha rolls? Why do we crave for Rajendra Da Dhaba's chicken? These are all trademarks. You can actually get that very quality product somewhere else, but you want a consumer satisfaction. Somebody has invested in the brand, somebody has invested in quality. He is entitled to that protection and you are entitled to consumer satisfaction. That is rationality and functions of trademark. The second concept we'll cover would be dilution of trademark and assignments of trademark. Dilution is a concept where a lot of people start using that trademark, and so the trademark loses its identifying properties. If you watch the film Angrezi Medium starring Irfan Khan in 2014, you would observe that a lot of his relatives and other people start using the mark Ghasite Ram. Everybody in the trade starts using the mark Ghasite Ram for sweets. What really happens? The mark loses its primary function of source identification. We see hundreds of Ghasite Ram. Today you go in Delhi, you will find hundreds of Agarwal sweet centers or Bekaneri sweet centers. The marks have diluted. If you go to Agra, you will find a lot of Panchi Pethas. The mark has completely diluted. Apart from dilution, sometimes the mark becomes completely generic also. Elevators. For elevator, it was a brand name. Second, we see that in the film Angrezi Medium, the brand is eventually sold for a 3 crore rupee valuation in the end of the film. So we see that the trademarks are also assignable. The third point which we will cover, or the third concept which we will cover, will be infringement of trademark by way of translations. If you would have seen the film Band Baja Barat, Bittu Sharma leaves Shruti Kakkad and there is a thriving business of Shadi Mubarak, and he opens another business called Happy Weddings. Happy Weddings in real world would have been an infringement of trademark. Translations of trademarks are not allowed. In the movie he goes scot free, but there are umpteen number of decisions of various courts that translations in a trademark are not allowed. As way back as 1941, Fruit Salt and Falaksar, Bombay High Court, Suraj and Sun, then Surya and Bhaskar, and a 95 judgment of Bhatia Plastics versus Peacock, which restrained Mayur and Peacock were the marks. Mayur and Peacock in sound are completely different, but an injunction was granted because it was a translation. The next in line is I would read the ratio from a very seminal judgment of the Supreme Court in trademarks law, the Kaviraj Pandit Durgadas Sharma versus Navratna Pharmaceuticals Limited, which sets really the test of infringement of trademarks. The judgment says that if I have a registered trademark, or if a plaintiff has a registered trademark and defendant copies the same identically or a substantial reproduction of the same, in such a situation the plaintiff has to show nothing more and he can succeed in getting an injunction. But if the defendant copies something similar and the plaintiff is not a registered proprietor, and the defendants add some other source identifiers to a product, then he may escape liability. If you would remember the 2009 film Rocket Singh, wherein Rocket Sales Corporation was acquired by AYS and AYS puts its logo before Rocket Sales Corporation. If Rocket Sales Corporation would have been a registered mark, it was surely a case of infringement. But assuming a situation where Rocket Sales Corporation is not a registered mark but an unregistered mark, AYS might have escaped liability by using AYS. But a contrary opinion is also found in certain Delhi High Court judgments. In one of the judgments where I represented the plaintiffs, the Honorable Court said that if somebody puts his mark before defendant's mark, the customer might feel that this mark has been acquired. And this is a very recognized concept. For example, you can take the example of Colgate Cibaca. Cibaca was acquired by Colgate and they added Colgate in front of it. The next concept which we will cover is the importance of royalties in cases of trademarks and the importance of choosing a good trademark. The movie that we'll cover will be 2016 movie The Founder. The mark involved is McDonald's. I don't know whether it's a common knowledge, but McDonald's was founded by two brothers whose surname was McDonald's. Unfortunately, for some reasons, they had to sell the brand name to a person called Ray Kroc. Ray Kroc was asked as to why, when he knew about the entire system of the business, why did he bought the brand name? And Ray Kroc's answer was that this is a family restaurant. This is something which is very American. And if I would have used my name Kroc or Ray for such a restaurant, it would never have worked. I needed a name which sounds healthy and which sounds good. And that's why he acquired the brand name McDonald's. When the brand name was being sought to acquire, the McDonald's brother wanted 1% of royalties in all the sales in perpetuity. Ray Kroc said that this is not possible because it would look bad on the balance sheet and promised them a handshake agreement. Said that they'll get their money, but it will not be a part of the agreement. The brothers never got their money. Today it will be $100 million every year. But if they would have got that amount of money, just see how important or how lucrative a trademark can be. The next is a concept called primary and secondary meaning of a mark. Every mark which is in the dictionary has a primary meaning, and every mark, if used and acquires reputation, acquires a secondary meaning. But there is a test of evidence between a primary meaning and a secondary meaning. Apple, when launched, had a primary meaning of the fruit, but subsequently and today we only know it as a computer business. One of the examples of a brand losing its primary meaning and acquiring a secondary meaning I found was in the show called The Big Bang Theory. In The Big Bang Theory, the character Leonard asks Penny on some question that when she's talking about Subway, is she talking about the path or is she talking about the restaurant? And Penny tells him that she's talking about the path. If you today Google subway, you won't find its meaning as a path unless you specifically Google what does subway mean. But if you just Google subway, then what you will come across is actually Subway the restaurants. I did it yesterday and all the results led to the restaurant. A judgment that you can read on a mark acquiring a secondary meaning is Bombay High Court judgment in Pidilite Industries versus Jubilant Agri. The mark involved was marine and the product involved was waterproof adhesive, and the Bombay High Court held that the mark has acquired a secondary meaning. The last topic in trademarks will be that the trademarks have perpetual monopoly. Trademarks are one of those rare intellectual property rights which can be perpetually monopolized and protected. The reason why they have a perpetual monopoly is because they cater more to consumers than to proprietor. If a trademark loses its exclusivity in 100 years, anybody can copy it in 100 years. You can have 100 Colgates in 100 years. That is not the idea. The idea is that the consumer should never ever suffer from confusion. This is the end of trademark concepts. We'll now move to copyright concepts. A basic study, a basic understanding of a copyright is it is a right given to creators, owners of literary, dramatic, musical and artistic works, producers of movies and sound recordings. It is a bundle of rights where you are allowed to reproduce, communicate to public, adapt and translate the work. The first topic we'll cover in copyright is authorship and ownership of copyright. Now there is a huge myth that the person who creates the copyright is always the owner. There is a huge catena of cases, I must say, on what constitutes an author, what constitutes an owner, and in what cases author can be an owner. So the seminal section is section 17 of the Copyright Act. Section 17 provides for three conditions mainly, section 17A, B and C. Section 17A says that if the work is a literary work, dramatic work, artistic work made under employment of a newspaper, a magazine or a similar periodical under a contract of service, then the owner of that newspaper is the first owner of that work. For example, if you click a photograph or wrote an article for a newspaper or a magazine, the ownership lies with the owner of that magazine. The second case is that if you take a photo, a painting or portrait at the instance of someone for valuable consideration and you're not under employment, then that person owns the copyright. For example, you go to somebody's marriage and he pays you 2 lakh rupees for all the photographs, then he owns the photographs. Third is when you are under an employment, under a contract of service, and you create any work which is not applicable in situations in 1 or 2. Now, one of the classic examples of a newspaper work which I could think of was the Spider-Man movies. In Spider-Man movies, Peter Parker clicks photographs of Spider-Man and sells it to the owner of Daily Bugle. He is not under employment, so obviously section 17A will not apply. But because he's clicked a photograph, he's getting money and it is at the instance of that person, section 17 subclause B should apply to works created by Peter Parker and sold to Daily Bugle. If even 17B doesn't apply, because he might say that this is not at your instance, I have taken it and I'm just giving it to you, then section 18 might apply, which is assignment of copyright, my bad. The second concept which we'll cover in copyright is assignment of copyright and moral rights of authors. Copyright is assignable. The assignment has to be in writing. It should specify the works and the term of assignment as well as the territory of assignment. Assignment of a trademark is very strict under section 18 and it has to be complied. You can't have an oral assignment. If somebody has given an oral assignment to you, please don't trust them. Take all the rights. The law doesn't recognize an oral assignment. You will be at your wit's end at the end. Moral rights are rights to integrity and paternity. Even after assignment, an author retains moral rights. So Peter Parker will always be credited for the photographs. irrespective of the fact that he has given it to the owner of Daily Bugle. He'll always be credited. That is what moral rights stand for. And they can't do any distorting changes to the photographs also. Now, a reference can be made to understand the concept of assignment of rights and moral rights is the 1995 film Akele Hum Akele Tum. The film was interestingly inspired by another film called Kramer vs. Kramer. Keeping that aside, Aamir Khan's characters assigns all his musical work to a duo who looked like Nadeem Shravan but does not receive any credit. In real world, if that would have happened, Aamir Khan would not have done a proper assignment, number one. And number two, he would have had complete right to ensure that his moral rights are protected. The third concept is licensing of copyright and rights to receive royalty. A very popular American sitcom, 2.5 Men, has a lead character called Charlie Harper. Charlie Harper doesn't work. Charlie Harper makes around 0.75 million in a year only because of royalties that he wrote years back on musical jingles and children's songs. He has a beach house. He has a family he supports, but he doesn't work. He's only earning in royalties. If a copyright protection is proper, if your agreements are proper, somebody who's creative enough can earn millions just on royalties, and for years. The next topic which we'll cover is infringement of copyright and infringement of moral rights. First we've covered the rights, now we'll cover the issue of infringement. There can be two types of infringement. Somebody copied your work directly, no changes, identical copy, and somebody copied with changes. It's a reproduction but with changes. In cases of identical reproduction, I'll give you an example from Friends, season 6, episode 12, the one with the joke, where Ross Geller's copied Chandler Bing's joke and published it in, I believe, in the People's Magazine. He not only infringed literary work of Chandler Bing, he also infringed moral rights of Chandler Bing because he never gave him credit. The next in line is infringement of copyright by substantial reproduction, where identical work is not copied but a similar work is copied. So if you'll remember the 2016 film Kapoor and Sons, since 1921, the brothers had a dispute over a book, and the younger brother said that the themes were the same, the characters were the same, but yes, there was difference. So in a fact-based situation, the court has to judge and the court has to analyze. But what is this test? How will the court judge? The themes are there, characters are there, but it's not an identical copy. So we see the Supreme Court seminal judgment on this, R.G. Anand versus Deluxe Film and the layman observer test. The Supreme Court says that there exists no copyright in relation to an idea, a subject matter, themes, plots, historical or legendary facts. Infringement is restricted only to form, manner, arrangement, and expression of the idea by the author of the copyright work. Now, what are these concepts? What are these themes? So, if you remember this film, Detective Byomkesh Bakshi, today anybody can make a movie on Byomkesh Bakshi. Today anybody can make a serial on Byomkesh Bakshi. Today anybody can make a serial or movie on Sherlock. The copyrights have expired. Or Devdas, in fact, a very own Devdas, because the copyrights in the book have expired. But you can't copy the Sanjay Leela Bhansali film, or you can't copy the Sherlock starring Benedict Cumberbatch because they have their unique expression. But the concept, the characters, all these things can be copied. As one of the investors in TVF Pictures said, copyright cannot be in ideas. Anybody can have an idea of selling an online, but the copyright lies in the expression. The Supreme Court judgments in R.G. Anand further says, when the author develops and acts upon the same idea, there is bound to have a common source. In such circumstances, the court should settle on whether the similarities are substantial or fundamental in nature, or not with respect to mode of expression. Now, one of the tests which has been determined by the Supreme Court is the layman observer test. It says that you look at both the works and you put them in front of a layman. You put it in front of a spectator or a reader. If they believe that the subsequent work is an imitation of the original work, it is an infringement. The term of protection for the next concept and the last concept in copyright is the term of protection. Term of protection of copyright is generally for 50-60 years post the death of the author, and in cases of cinematograph, film and sound recordings, as they are generally owned by companies, it is 50 to 60 years after the work has been published. Certain movies, certain very iconic movies such as Mother India, Chalti Ka Naam Gaadi, Avara have recently fallen in public domain because of the expiration of copyright. The third intellectual property that we will cover is patents. Patents are granted for inventions. For protection, for a product to be a patent or a process to be a patent, it has to be new. It has to be capable of being made or used in an industry, and it should entail technical advance over existing knowledge, or it should have an economic significance and not obvious to a person skilled in the art. Basically put, it should be new, it should have inventive steps, and it should have industrial application. I will discuss novelty and industrial steps subsequently. The first topic which we will cover in patents is the need for patent law and concept of anticipation. When the first system in the world of patent protection started, it was not given to merely original inventions but also to new imports. The intention of the Crown at that point of time was the development of local industry by getting the people accustomed with the working of the invention and thus meeting the needs of society. In return, the patentee gets a monopoly for a limited period of time so as to reap the benefits of the invention. This becomes a catalyst for further invention. So what happens to the country if you grant them a patent protection? If your individuals are granted a patent protection, it means more economy, more money in their hands, and it leads to a better economy. The 1959 Justice Iyengar Committee report found that the industrial progress of a country is dependent upon its patent policy. It said that the patents stimulate technical progress, and in return of the grant, the patentee provides a disclosure and should ensure working of the invention without delay so that trade and industry develops and national economy thrives. I don't know whether it's a very obscure film. It's a 1990 film called Ek Doctor Ki Maut, in which the lead character in fact invented a vaccine for leprosy. But because he worked in a government department, the government department didn't trusted him. He was a very junior doctor. They didn't allow him to present a paper. Ultimately, what really happened was he wasted a lot of time in coming up with and getting credit for his work. He was sent to a remote village. Some years down the line or some months down the line, some American doctors receive credit for the same vaccine. On the same principle, same ingredients, same testers, somebody else gets a credit because he is not allowed to present his paper. The problem here is, and what we learn from this is the concept of anticipation. The work on corona today is happening everywhere. The work on all the medicines keep happening everywhere. And hence it's a requirement that we need to go ahead and protect our inventors so that the anticipation requirement doesn't kick in. Because if anticipation kicks in and some American gets a patent for something which an Indian is developing, then the Indian will lose patent rights because patent rights are lost internationally. If globally somebody has used that invention, presented a paper on that invention, worked around that invention, then you cannot have a patent on it if it is prior to your date of publication or of your application. Then in the film, Irfan Khan also stars in the film Ek Doctor Ki Maut, and he makes a very, very amazing remark. He said, इस फील्ड में हमारे पास बर्बाद करने के लिए वक्त नहीं है, it's a race, and that's correct. Patent rights are a race. Next concept which we'll cover is patent monopolization. Patent monopolization happens when patent owners do not allow access of medicines or important drugs to other countries or people who cannot afford them, restricting access due to patent rights or providing access on unreasonable terms. This is a documentary of 2013 which provides for how Swiss firms, American firms in pre-19 mid-19. Oh, I'll just hold on. I believe the audio has gone. Hi, am I audible, guys? Am I audible? Can somebody just wave and let us know that we are audible, or comment? All right. I'll take it as that I'm audible. So in Fire in the Blood, we see how the American and Swiss companies in the mid 1990s really spoil the access to drugs. And this was in context of, I don't know you would remember or not, but this was in context of antiretroviral drugs for AIDS. So Fire in the Blood beautifully deals with it, and giving credit where it's due. At that point of time, when this whole problem was happening in African countries and in India, who cannot afford these patented drugs post trips because of the patent monopoly, Cipla stepped in and made generic drugs for India and even exported them to Africa. Fire in the Blood is a 2013 movie. A similar concept you can find on patent monopoly is in the 2013 movie Krish 3, where Vivek Oberoi's labs creates a virus, sends that virus to Namibia, people get affected, and then only he has the vaccine because it is made out of his blood, and he tries to earn maximum money or advantage out of it. The next topic which we'll cover in patents is inventive steps, evergreening, section 3D, and enhanced therapeutic efficacy test. Inventive steps. What are inventive steps? Inventive steps are a feature of an invention that involves a technical advancement as compared to the existing knowledge. If there is no technical advancement, they involve a feature of an invention that has an economic significance. In some cases, it can have both. A seminal judgment on inventive steps and evergreening is Novartis versus Union of India. Evergreening is a concept where one makes an incremental change to the molecular composition of a pharmaceutical product and claims additional patent rights over it when the existing patent rights are about to expire. So in Novartis versus Union of India, the Supreme Court held that the Indian Patent Act, for as far as grant of pharmaceutical patents is concerned, provides, apart from the traditional test on novelty, inventive steps, and industrial application, a new test called enhanced therapeutic efficacy for claims that cover incremental changes to existing drugs. Interestingly, Novartis, Krish 3, and Fire in the Blood are all 2013 releases. I'll give you a very simple concept to understand what are inventive steps. In a 1983 movie called Avatar, Rajesh Khanna's character develops a carburetor which increases the already existing knowledge of mileage from 15 km per liter to 20 km per liter. This satisfies the test of inventive steps. How does it satisfy? Because we gain economic significance. Obviously, Rajesh Khanna's character starts to make money out of it. He manufactures it, sells it, he has exclusivity over it, and he rakes in the money on it. The patent protection term is 20 years from the date of application. The next project or the next IP which we'll cover is industrial designs. Industrial designs are in fact creation of new and original features of new shape, configuration, surface pattern, ornamentations, composition of lines or colors applied to an article. This is very, very crucial. Applied to an article. Industrial designs are always applied to an article. It cannot be on otherwise on a vendable article in the finished state and are judged solely by the eye. If it's functional, you cannot have a design protection. I'll give you an example. Just look at this. This is a mobile cover. The only functional part is this, which is for the camera, and this is for the fingerprint. The rest of this is a subject matter of design. You might say this is copyright, but when it is applied to a product and reproduced more than 50 times, this becomes a subject matter of design protection. All this colors, this pattern is a design. I'll give you another example of a design protection. Look at this car. It's a toy, but it's an exact replica of Lamborghini. This is also a subject matter of design, but probably the aerodynamics on the car are functional and may not be covered under the Designs Act. Looking at an ambassador, you might think that the green, yellow or black are also designed, but these are not designs, these are just regulatory. So they perform a functional feature. So what is essentially protectable is the shape of ambassador. These are designs. I'll give you some examples or concepts. In the 2018 film Sui Dhaga, Varun Dhawan's character along with Anushka Sharma's character create a very visually appealing gown. They design it themselves. These gowns and patterns are subject matter of Designs Act. Ultimately, their rights are violated when the same patterns are applied on other products. There are certain points which you should remember as far as design law is concerned. Designs need not be on identical product. Design, registration and infringement covers the entire class of products. In case design is not registered and more than 50 copies are made of the product loses copyright as well as design protection. Design protection or registration is essential. The term of protection is 15 years. A case which I'll cite in cases of design is Rajesh Masrani versus Tahiliani Designs. He was the plaintiff was a fashion designer. He created the work, but he never produced more than 50 copies. When he never produced more than 50 copies, the courts recognized his artistic work and granted an injunction. Clothes can apply, as I said, to the designs can apply to multiple products. Almost all everyday articles, mobile covers, toys, Bluetooth speakers, cars. Another example which I can took from a movie on design is the 2004 film Tarzan the Wonder Car. The car which was designed by DC is a subject matter of design. And we see that the spirit of Ajay Devgan really guards any infringement against it. The next topic which we'll cover is geographical indications. The geographical indication is a uniqueness about certain products, a link between their quality and a region where they are created. They are economic, their products lead to economic benefits. They are a close cousin of trademarks. They are also perpetually protectable. But a thing which has to be always remembered as far as geographical indications are concerned is that geographical indication is a community right. It vests with the entire community. So once you apply for a geographical indication, other authorized sellers of that particular geographical indication can be added. I'll give you what a definition of geographical indication is. Geographical indication is an indication which indicates whether the goods are agricultural, natural or manufactured, as originating or manufactured in the territory of a country or a region or a locality, where the given quality, reputation or other characteristics is essentially attributable to their geographical origin. In case the goods are manufactured, some activity, preparation, processing should happen in the geographical area. When it comes to movies, you see reference of geographical indication in the 1979 film Suhag, where Amitabh Bachchan constantly beats up bad guys because of the sturdy nature of the Kolhapuri chappal. He keeps on beating them because the chappal will never get affected because they are very sturdy. The chappals are actually prepared in parts of Maharashtra and Karnataka and are very exclusive to them. The next example could be seen from the movie Laksh, where one of the character asks Hrithik Roshan whether he has had Mahilabadi mangoes. And a very common example is Scotch whiskey from United Kingdom. I have in fact one of the product with me. This is a registered geographical indication product. It's a Mysore sandal soap. The uniqueness about these sandal soap is they are 100% biodegradable, pure vegetable oil products. and made of sandalwoods. You can see the geographical indication mark here. It's a registered GI. The next topic is confidential information or trade secrets. The first confidential information refers to trade secrets. Trade secrets are a type of IP that comprises of formulas, practices, processes, compilations, or information that have inherent economic value because they are not generally known or readily ascertainable by others, and which the owner takes measures to keep secret. What are the ingredients of a trade secret? What is a trade secret? It has to be of a commercial value. It has to be a secret information. It has to be a secret to members of the trade. And the last and very important ingredient is that the owner of a trade secret should take reasonable steps to maintain the secrecy of the trade secret. An interesting proposition that has developed in United States and in India is that the trade secret should not be readily ascertainable. It should not be something that I can just see in the product or derive it easily. The United States Trade Secrets Act specifically says that it should not be readily ascertainable. In India, you can refer to a judgment called Star India versus Lakshmi Raj, which is a 2003 Bombay High Court judgment, which says that if information cannot be known by making special efforts, then it is a trade secret. If you have to make special efforts, then it's a trade secret. Otherwise, it is not a trade secret. I'll give you an example of a trade secret from a movie. The movie in question is Love Shafte Chicken Khurana. In Love Shafte Chicken Khurana, the ingredients of the recipe of chicken khurana are completely unknown. Nobody knows those ingredients. The person who has created the recipe doesn't disclose it to anyone. The valuation of those ingredients are pegged at 1 crore, as we see in the movie. So chicken khurana satisfies all ingredients. What happens in chicken khurana? It has a commercial value. It has been kept secret. It has not been provided to traders. And when an effort is made to decipher the entire recipe, somebody says it's garlic, somebody says it's black pepper, somebody says asafoetida, somebody says a million things. So when we see all of that, it is not readily ascertainable. So chicken khurana was a valid trade secret. If you really need to understand trade secrets, please watch the film Chicken Khurana. The next film I'll cover in trade secret, and I'll just do it in a liner, is 1978 film Trishul, in which tender quotations were shared with competitors. That is also a confidential information. The third is the 2006 film starring Bipasha Basu called Corporate, in which the entire business plan before launch was shared with the competitors. However, trade secrets will not apply in cases where there is a reverse engineering. Trade secrets will also not apply in cases where somebody has achieved it on their own merit. The seventh intellectual property covered by TRIPS will be the layout designs of integrated circuits. So I don't know whether you remember when we were children, we had those video games, where we had those cartridges. Those are integrated circuits. The chips, the motherboards of a computer are integrated circuits. We have a sui generis legislation in India. The protection is for 10 years. The chip layout design is a subject matter of that protection. It's a 3-dimensional, original, distinctive, and capable of distinguishing from any other layout design. A perfect example for a chip or a semiconductor circuit can be seen from the 2013 movie Jobs, which was based on the life of Steve Jobs. Interestingly, the first Apple product was not a computer per se. It was not a home computer. It was a chip, the Apple I. The Apple I was released in 1976, was created by Steve Wozniak. It consisted of a single motherboard. It had 60 different chips, fully assembled. At the time, computers did not come assembled and consisted of multiple circuit boards, and that is the subject matter protection. There is not much jurisprudence in India on semiconductor integrated circuits. One of the topics that I really am interested in, but it is not covered in the TRIPS, and that would be our last topic of subject matters of IP, is publicity rights. What are publicity rights? I'll just give you a brief analogy. Many prominent persons, far from having their feelings bruised through public exposure of their likeness, would feel sorely deprived if they no longer received money for advertisements. The right of publicity would usually yield them no money unless it could be made subject of an exclusive grant which barred any other advertiser from using their pictures. Suppose you today use picture of Salman Khan on your mobile phone as a sellable commodity. I mean, it looks like he's advertising your mobile phone. What if you start using picture of Amir Khan on a rubber, or Amitabh Bachchan on a hoarding of a jewelry store, or you launch dolls of Arvind Kejriwal, as I've recently seen on Facebook. I mean, there were similar cases. Dolls of Daler Mehndi were launched and he restricted any usage of the same. I mean, in fact, Rajnikant filed a suit against somebody who was using the mark Rajnikant for movies. So these are the aspects of publicity rights. A very seminal judgment, or which I would say a very interesting aspect of publicity rights, which we found and recognized by the Constitution, is in the Justice K.S. Puttaswamy case. Obviously, we all know that Justice K.S. Puttaswamy case was on right to privacy, but Justice Kaul's opinion in the K.S. Puttaswamy case gives publicity rights a constitutional protection. He says every individual should have a right to be able to exercise control over his or her own life and image as portrayed to the world, and to control commercial use of his or her identity. This also means that an individual may be permitted to prevent others from using his image, name, and other aspects of his or her personal life and identity for commercial purposes without his or her consent. He doesn't give it to only celebrities. You, me, every individual. If our image is taken today, put up on a hoarding, without our consent, it is a violation of our constitutional right. We see the importance of publicity rights from the Shah Rukh Khan film Fan. Somebody impersonates the character Aryan Khan. The Aryan Khan loses commercial value of his image because of that impersonation. Next in line, no one comes to concerts, all future events are cancelled, his monetary making power goes for a toss. This is violation of his publicity rights. Now I'll not be covering IP, I will be covering something general applicable to all IPs, but a very interesting concept that I have learned. What is the importance of intellectual property rights and what is an effective commercialization of intellectual property rights. I've recently come across a show. The show is running in its 11th season. The show is called Shark Tank. In Shark Tank, entrepreneurs ask and make pitch to prospective sharks to invest in their business. And one of the very common questions of a shark in the business is that, do you have a patent? In cases where they do have a patent, the valuation of the business is pegged high. In case they do not have a patent, the valuation of the business is pegged low. Then it is seen what are the sales, what is the protectable trademark, if they have any design protection, and all of these factors. I'll give you some examples of some Shark Tank shows that made a deal without any sales just because on their IP protection. The first is the Mookie doorstep. So the inventor invented a latch to be put here, where the door latches to the car, and you step upon it and you can access the roof. That was sold for $3 million without any sales. So we see that IP is very important. Another product was Rock Block, which was a Bluetooth speaker which you can put on vinyl records and it will play directly from vinyl records. Another product was Drop Stop, where we noticed that when we put the seat belt in the car, then there is a space where our coins can go or small things can go. So somebody put up rubber and silicone things to save that space, so that while we are driving the car, there is no issue with us in handling these things, and nothing falls and nothing gets lost. So this is as far as intellectual property is concerned. I will now conclude. As a concluding remark, I would only like to say that intellectual property permeates our life at every level. I hope this webinar has made you conscious of various IPs around you. We see that it is an important asset which, if effectively monopolized and protected, can reap immense benefits. the legislature always tries to strike out a balance between private rights and access. Patents are immensely important in case of healthcare crisis. Not only their protection is limited by time, but also restricted in various ways. The standards in India are slightly higher for pharmaceutical products. Copyrights helps us in protecting our culture over the years and can be a great tool to earn money even about 100 years from the day when it was created. Trademarks and GIs are perpetually protected to ensure no customer confusion. With these last notes, I hope that the session would have provided you with some basic understanding of intellectual property rights. All omission and mistakes are completely mine. Thank you.
Hello, sir.
Hi, Mr. Trivedi. How are you?
I'm fine, sir. Very interesting session, sir. You all are very
Thank
enlightened
you.
at the
Thank you. Thank you for inviting.
Please, sir. It was our pleasure. Sir, of course, your interplay, I think you're also doing a blog series on this called Flipistan, where you, on
Flipstar. Yes. Yes. Yes.
uh,
We are doing Flipstar.
Indian case laws, क्या कहते हैं, Indian case laws is sir's blog. Everybody watching this, sir not only analyzes Indian cases, he analyzes cases from around the world, the United States. He's done a very good two-part series on Booking.com, the recent judgment, and he's also has a lot of good articles, I think, on sound marks. So, is that right? Smell marks.
On unconventional marks.
Yes,
Yes.
unconventional marks.
Sound, smell, shape. Yes.
And one is on also analysis on the recent International Court of Justice analysis on one of the recent judgments that's come out. So, sir has a lot of good information on it. And in fact, anyone who wants to read more upon this can definitely visit his blog. So, we have a plethora of questions. I think our session will end, so we will start another sessions just in case.
As long as you can ensure the technical part of it, I don't have going ahead with an additional session.
No worries.
My strength is IP. My strength is not IT.
Yes. Well, is it is field of registry or is it registered? So, sir, we have a lot of questions. Should I start with the questions first off?
Yes. Yes. Please do. Please do.
So, aimlessly aiming, the user, the social media handle said, not regarding moral right is also considered as infringement. So, if someone's moral rights are somewhere taken over, and so you could explain a little more on that. I would like to know also is what all rights, like moral rights, that stay with you even post assignment. If someone were to
In fact, I forgot to mention moral rights stay with you even post death.
yes, you've mentioned that.
Rights stay with us even post death.
They actually go from one generation to another.
Exercise them.
So someone's written something like 300-400 years ago. Would the hair today have a right to sue for that, or file an infringement case?
Moral rights? For
Yes.
moral rights, yes. Yes. For moral rights, yes.
Oh, wonderful. That's actually very interesting. So that's also infringement, sir. Would you call it infringement technically?
It's an infringement of moral right.
Mhm.
I'll call it an infringement of moral right, but the Copyright Act deals separately with infringement of moral right and infringement of copyright.
All right.
So lot of considerations that happen in cases of infringement of copyright do not apply in cases of infringement of moral rights. For example, there is a decision by the Delhi High Court that you can't invoke 62(2) in cases of moral rights. You can only go to CPC in cases of moral rights.
Oh, okay. That's interesting, sir. That's any reason why, sir? Any logical reason for that, or like jurisprudential reason you would say?
I personally think that the jurisprudential reason for that could be that the owner is not there, or probably the rights are not economic rights.
Yes, correct, sir.
The rights are more in the nature of paternity and integrity, and the court would like to see more what in its national jurisdiction lies, in its regional jurisdiction.
So this is actually, I just got another question from Sahil Sood. He's linked, what is the logic of having it after anyone is dead?
Okay, the logic of having after anyone is dead is that their children or their name should not get suffered. What if I today write a poem which make changes and say that this was by Rabindranath Tagore, or if there is an artwork that is created by someone and I make changes to it, the problem that lies is that when some work has been distorted or mutilated, they lose their reputation. What if you are an heir of Rabindranath Tagore, or you are an heir of a very popular author, Arthur Conan Doyle, and somebody says that this is what they've written. 50 years down the line, somebody criticizes that work because somebody has wrongly posted about it.
Yeah. Correct, correct. But it's degradation of that, right? It's degradation completely. But Samir sir,
Yes.
actually referring to another movie, I would say is Thank You, which was that People versus Larry Flint.
Yes, but I have not seen People versus Larry Flint.
Oh, okay, okay.
So, but you can ask me an IP question.
Yes, definitely. I'll ask you an IP question in that regard. So what he does is he takes out the movie that that magazine Hustler. And
Okay.
Larry Flint, yes, and what he does is he makes fun of one of these very who is it, like you can say almost like a religious figure, and he says that his first experience, sexual, was with his, someone in his family. So it's sexual, something on that regard. And what happens is it's taken to the Supreme Court, and over there it says that he's defamed me. But what the court holds is that he has a right to free speech. Coming to personality.
Right.
So he's like,
Right.
you have a right not to like OTT platforms, right? We have certain, things like on Netflix, but then you have a right not to subscribe to them, not to watch them.
No. As far if I think you were referring to the Hasmukh controversy.
Yes, sir. I'm referring to that, sir.
Hasmukh controversy has a problem, Govind. I actually worked on it. Hasmukh, not on the matter, on an article that covered it. So Hasmukh controversy, one doesn't really specify who's being defamed.
Yes, sir.
Without
Correct.
specification of defamation, there is no
Mhm.
defamation.
Correct. The three essential injuries that you have to name one person.
Right.
Sir, Aimlessly Aiming has asked a follow-up question. Does moral rights entail any royalty?
No, they are
Okay.
not economic.
Okay. Aimlessly Aiming, we've told you no royalty. So you cannot
No
claim.
royalty.
No
Not to
game.
your question also.
Yes. Then we come to question of Daniel Dennis. He's saying,
Yes.
if he's saying, sir, if copyright is in India for Dev Das, does he have to get it in
Right.
every country individually?
Okay. Number one, there is no copyright in Devdas as far as the book is concerned.
Yes, correct.
As far as the movies are concerned, if he has a copyright in India, he can protect in all the countries which have signed the International Copyright Order of 1999. International Copyright Order lists certain countries. If there is a protection in India, you will get that protection in other countries. If there is a protection in US in UK of Benedict Cumberbatch Sherlock, it is protectable in India without any registration automatically as soon as it is created in UK.
Copyright Order 1990, right, sir?
1999.
1999.
Indian copyright.
Sir, does because as we know, copyright registration isn't compulsory. In this scenario, it has to be compulsory, right, sir?
No.
Okay. So it's if you have a copyright by publishing or something by any right, you
We
have
have a
it in
copyright in UK. India is a signatory to to the copyright regime of Berne and TRIPS, and
Yeah.
all of these are part of the copyright order, the international copyright order. Then you are done. You do not need to go specifically in every country.
So Daniel Dennis, you don't need to have a copyright registration in every country. I hope we've answered your question on that. Sir, coming another question by Shikhar Sharma. It's a very exact question. I think he's referring to the very exact actually. It's actually referring to the Goa beer. I feel he says, can we register a geographical trademark? He's talking about trademarks, not geographical indications. Can we register a geographical trademark? Can I get a register for the mark Goa for a beer to be sold in Delhi? Very specific, sir. Very specific.
Yes, you can register the mark Goa for beer to be sold in Delhi.
Hmm.
But again, he has to search the register if there are no prior registrants.
Mhm.
The registry might also say that this is not an arbitrary mark. It's a name of a popular state. There might be considerations or as far as secondary meaning in the mark is concerned. He might argue from McCarthy on trademarks that it's an arbitrary mark because Goa has nothing to do with beer.
Correct.
It doesn't grow there. It is not made there. So
It
that
could be a
one
problem for
argument.
Feni. I'm sorry to disturb you there, but it could be a problem for Feni, right? Like
Feni
Goa.
is the registered geographical indication of Goa. It is
Yeah.
exclusive to Goa.
Yes.
But I would personally say to Mr. Sharma that there are brand owners selling gin under the name of Goa, and he should not apply for Goa for beer.
Yes, sir.
Somebody will sue him.
Somebody will sue him, definitely. That's a fair warning. Like he can, like there is a beer, so that's different. Not for gym, right, sir?